Hello, everyone. I'm 10 Tampa Bay meteorologist Colleen Campbell, and I'm joined by my friend in Jacksonville, Ross Muma. Hey, Ross, how you doing?
Hey, Colleen. Good evening to you. Pretty good. We've had a busy evening or an afternoon here. Really, we've had a lot of thunderstorms locally, but more than anything, just happy that Hurricane Erin now moved well away from Florida, Georgia, the entire first coast. For you guys down in Tampa as well, you lucked out. You didn't have to deal with any of the high surf or the coastal flood advisories or anything like that, which well-deserved. You guys had quite the year last year, so a bit of a break for you.
Yeah, I think we're ready for a break. But yeah, we're not even to the middle of the season, and I'm already exhausted. And I'm tired of talking about Erin, to be honest. But yeah, we have that northwesterly wind that is really taking place here, and it's pushing all the rain that we had earlier today over to you guys. So have fun with that. But yeah, we have another round on the way tomorrow. Those storms, actually, we have a weather impact alert for a couple downpours to start our day tomorrow, thanks to that our winds will be more west-southwesterly by then. But yeah. So what do you say, Ross? Let's dive into it and kind of rip the Band-Aid off and talk about what is still going on with Erin, since there's some interest in it. Of course, this is our streaming show just featuring the tropics, but we'll talk about some local weather too.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it a little bit. You see right there, 8 p.m. advisory out from Hurricane Erin. As I mentioned, or as we mentioned, no longer an impact for the southeast, but I have seen videos out from Ocean City, Maryland, Wildwood in New Jersey as well, still feeling those coastal impacts from Erin. Not a tropical storm, but a storm surge warning still in effect for the northern portions of the Outer Banks, and a tropical storm warning still in place for Bermuda as well, but certainly still seeing a lot of high surf and rough surf for those more coastal areas further north up along our eastern coastline and shoreline here. And there you can see it, storm surge warning in effect from Cedar Island up to Nags Head, North Carolina. But really, within about the next 8 to 12 hours, Erin's going to continue to move off to the northeast. Will no longer be impacting not only the Carolinas or the mid-Atlantic, but really not even impacting Nova Scotia either. I mean, this thing's soon going to be well off into the North Atlantic, will be of no longer a concern to anyone across the United States or Canada. And I saw you post on socials that really this is soon going to be an Ireland storm before too long.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I did want to bring up a point. So you were talking about the tropical storm warnings. So on our graphics here, this is a good example. So it's just 8 o'clock on the dot. Sometimes the graphics take a while to update, and I want to bring this up because Ross said no more tropical storm warning. It has been discontinued for those areas, those coastal areas, all the way from Jersey down to the North Carolina coast. Now, there is still a storm surge warning, as Ross just highlighted, but that has not been dropped yet from our graphic suite. However, Bermuda is still going to be highlighted in that blue color, which looks like our banner is covering that anyway, but they are still under that tropical storm warning. But yeah, let me get us to the track so we can see our Irish lass here. And Ross, if there's really a good case scenario, I mean, of course, we don't want any tropical system, but a hurricane at this size, just how expansive this wind field is and has been, and considering at one point Erin was a Category 5 hurricane, it is just amazing that this has not made landfall. And it worked out perfectly as far as the track has been going. That northeast turn, there's been a lot of people ringing the alarm on social, those, hype enthusiasts, I don't know what you would even call them, but people that put out that GFS run and make things look scary. I mean, yes, a hurricane is scary, but I mean, again, not having a landfall with the size of this system is just amazing. And that recent track, right, the track has been extended even as a post-tropical low, going all the way across the pond, if you will. And yeah, funny enough, Erin looks like she wants to return to her homeland there.
Yeah, I think I do want to mention, it is amazing. This storm started just off the west coast of Africa, right? It became that Cat 5 last Saturday. just north of the Leeward Islands. Never made landfall there, never made landfall in Puerto Rico. Similar story for the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, the United States, Bermuda even still. So, yeah, considering you mentioned how expansive the wind field was, anywhere from 5 to almost 600 miles in diameter across. I mean, this was just a massive storm, and it almost took that perfect track in between the United States and Bermuda that in the grand scheme of things, probably the least amount of people were affected by it that could have been. Because if you think, I mean, if this had been further west by an extra 100 miles, 200 miles even, I mean, the Carolinas would have been in for some major hurt. They've had flooding recently over the past several weeks, so some heavy rainfall there already. Has pretty saturated and soggy ground, so a hurricane of Category 3, Category 4 status making landfall there certainly could have been not only catastrophic for the coastal areas, right, but even for some of those inland locations. And we're less than a year away, or less than a year removed, I should say, from when Hurricane Helene brought that just deadly and catastrophic flooding to the mountains of western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. So thankfully, it stayed offshore, and those folks didn't really have to worry about it too much besides the beaches and the coastal areas there.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the beaches, I think we have a live view, although it may be dark. Yeah, there it is. That is Ocean City, Maryland, I believe, right? Salisbury, Maryland. Okay. But yeah, it's still pretty rough out there. I mean, of course, it's not water that you want to be into. Ross and his team over in Jacksonville have really been delivering that message because, of course, they were impacted in terms of coastal flooding and rough surf and rip currents more than we were here in Tampa. Tampa, the weather's just been, the regular schmegular for our area. But yeah, that is the live picture right now. Of course, it's dark out, a little harder to see, but the tropical effects being that rough surf still taking place along those coastal areas across the mid-Atlantic. So it is suggested you stay out of the water, and I would take that suggestion seriously. But people are walking along the boardwalk. We had a view from Wildwood earlier, and I believe up by, what was that other Jersey Shore town? Help me out, Ross. You're my Northeast guy. We had a live look from, it was close to more of the central beaches.
I was going to say, you're the Jersey girl. I'm Central PA.
It's been such a whirlwind the last couple of days now. I can't remember. I know it wasn't Asbury Park. But anyway, it was more of a central Jersey, Seaside Heights. There we go. But people were walking along the boardwalk, and, it was soggy, yeah, but they also had that front move through, which it seems like that front that has moved through, although it's weaker, is bringing some drier air and really just kind of eating away the western side of Erin here, definitely seeing less convection. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that front kind of twofold, not only bringing the drier air with it, but also some somewhat cooler temperatures for some of those folks, more so across the Ohio River Valley and the Mid-Atlantic. And we got another front behind it beyond that then into the early part of next week that'll bring actually some fall-like temperatures to some folks across the Northeast and the Great Lakes region. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Colleen. Some drier air getting pulled in on the western side of this, kind of just sucking the life out of what is left of Erin, at least on that western fringe of the storm. Eastern and northern side, though, still looking quite strong. Plenty of convection and thunderstorms still on that infrared satellite imagery, and sustained winds at 100 miles per hour yet. So more than likely still going to be dealing with the hurricane for at least the next 24 to 36 hours, if not beyond that. But thankfully, will soon be a distant memory for a lot of folks, not only here in Florida, but also up across the rest of the eastern seaboard. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on from Erin. We love Erin, but, well, we don't love her, but, you get the idea. We're tired of talking about her. All right, so let's go into, and I think all the hype that we've had, I think that just added to it, because, again, when this was just a little seedling, we had those meteorologists, I can never say that, but, those that don't really necessarily, it's kind of a hobby for them, which, whatever, I love that. You like the weather, but don't bring alarm to folks, especially those that are, already really have PTSD, our area especially. We had 3 back-to-back big storms last year, and people are still cleaning up from that. But so it's just exhausting, But anyway, diving into the rest of the tropics, you're probably going to see more of that hype going out because we could have our next named system coming up. And Ross, I was looking up the pronunciation of our F name system. Let's bring up the list of names. Very interesting. The D on the end is silent there.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
And for some folks who are a little bit more rural in nature, I'm a little bit of a country boy. I want to say Fernan.
Yeah.
But apparently it's Fairnan.
Yeah, Fernan, I think. No D at the
Fernan,
end.
okay.
Fernan. I know, it's tricky. When I'm on the air, I also want to say Fernand, but he has a little zest to him, I guess. But yeah, so as far as Fernan, however you want to say it, there is a pronunciation for those that want to call us out and say you're wrong. You can look online, and yeah, I've practiced many times because it is tricky. But anyway, yeah, that could be our next name system when we look at Invest 90. So it looks like it wants to follow behind Erin, which is a good thing because that means that it will likely be weaker. And we do have some of the spaghetti models that are going out on this right now. And you can see very close track to Miss Erin there. Ross, I would say Bermuda definitely should be on the lookout, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. Yeah, Bermuda seems to be much more in kind of the bullseye or the crosshairs of what will more than likely soon be Fernan. It will be weaker than what Erin was, but I mean, remember, Erin was a Cat 5 at one time. And was Category 4, Category 3 status for quite a long time. So more than likely not going to reach that, but model intensity guidance is showing the potential of not only just a tropical storm, but perhaps at least a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane within the next 7 days. So yeah, certainly Bermuda still needs to be on high alert and doesn't need to let their guard down once Erin passes away. They're going to have a few days of reprieve and a bit of a break before the next storm is going to be on the way.
Yeah, and especially if this storm did start to form or develop within the next 24, 48 hours here as it's closer to Puerto Rico, especially because even still, Erin was north at the time, but they had that pier collapse. And, so yeah, when you get these storms, of course, we don't want a Category 5 anywhere, but even when it's that far of a distance, it still does cause damage, and that's why we have been talking about Erin so much. Even though it's not a landfalling hurricane, it still had effects, right? And coastal flooding being the biggie, especially for those areas that have been battling through erosion. So yeah, when it comes to tropical wave Invest 90, if it does form into a tropical storm, Category 1 or Category 2, of course, that would be the worst case scenario. For those areas that just got battered with those tropical storm force winds, at least, that could be a problem. So that is something that we're going to watch. For us here at home, here in Florida, we are okay. I come from, people are going to laugh, but I come from a religious family, and my mom told me a little trick. I don't know if I can review my trick on the air, but to keep storms away. I just learned about it. I was like, well, this would have worked last year, but I don't know if I can reveal it because that might jinx everything. So I think I'll just keep that to myself. But I'll tell you, Ross, if you want to message me.
Wow, you just dropped the tease. You just dropped the tease and then let everyone hanging.
Yeah, well,
that's doing people dirty.
Yeah, anybody that has a Italian or Irish Catholic backgrounds, especially up north, how they have their little statues, and hey, it's working. Whatever, it's working. So thanks, Mom. All right, we're getting into tropical wave Invest 99 now. That is the area that is off the coast of Africa by a couple miles. But this is the one that we have been tracking. It actually was dubbed an Invest before Invest 90. But now it has less of a probability of forming, but that doesn't mean it won't form. It just means that the timeline's a little bit different. Further south, and yeah, Ross, what do you think about this one? I mean, most of the global models has it fizzling out by the time it nears the Leeward Islands. Some outliers, though, looking interesting, where it wants to bring it a little further to the west and to the northeast. That one that I'm looking at a little bit closer to your coast, but that's just one model compared to how many others. Yeah,
I think there's going to be a couple things that perhaps might at least limit what is now Invest 99L, but could certainly become Gabrielle. That would be the name after Fernan. There's going to be a decent amount of wind shear on its southern flank that might limit how much organization it's able to get kind of underfoot. And then you can combine that, some of the longer range stuff. So into next week, there seems to be another pretty large plume of Saharan dust. There's some drier air getting, propelled westward across the central Atlantic. And that would be on the northern flank of the storm more than likely. So it's going to kind of be wedged in between drier air to the north, some somewhat, higher wind shear to the south, might limit its initial growth or intensity to start off. But yeah, as you kind of noted, Colleen, some of them do continue it kind of through the Lesser Antilles into the eastern parts of the Caribbean, and then perhaps beyond that, it might be able to get its act together. But most of the long-range models not really showing a whole lot, if anything, with regards to development from this system in the long range. So I think the key takeaway is if you're concerned about either of these two, whether you're concerned about 90, which is going to follow in Erin's wake, or this 99, neither of them look to be impacting not only Tampa, but the first coast, so anywhere in Florida or Georgia within at least the next 7 to, if not even 10 days, if at all, right?
Yeah. Now, I kind of just pulled up this because you were talking about the dust, which I haven't updated this graphic today. You know how this works, Ross. It doesn't really need that much updating, but for anybody curious, that line that you see dragging behind Erin, that's Erin's historical track. So, yeah, again, it's been pretty consistent. Yeah, there's been some wobbles and wiggles. That happens. But we also have on here the chance of development for Invest 90 that we're talking about. That's highlighted in the red. And then we have Invest 99. That's highlighted in the orange. And then we have that little area, that spot, which I believe they downgraded that to a 20% chance now of development. And that's just in the Central Atlantic Basin, so that's not affecting anybody. So just interesting that they tagged that. But, I mean, hey. But, yeah, here's that dust that Ross was just talking about. This is moving forward into this weekend. Nice, healthy plume of it coming across right where we were just looking at those global models for Invest 99. So that would eat away at it. And then I'll have to dig up my wind shear graphic. But let's do this. Well,
I was going to say, Colleen, are you able to play it out further than Monday?
Yeah. Whoops, let me bring it up again. Hold on. I'm not the best driver.
Because you're right. There is... No, you're good. There is some dry air out there kind of over the weekend, like you mentioned, but some of the longer range models are showing, almost a secondary plume as you get into at least the first half of next week, also kind of coming over the same area. One thing I will kind of note is that if 99L did form into Gabrielle, it is a little bit further south than where Erin's original track was. Typically, the further south it is, a little bit closer to that main development region and the intertropical convergence zone, there's some slightly warmer water there than what Erin had initially experienced further north. So sometimes that can feed into it a little bit better and can help it grow and intensify a little bit quicker. But as I mentioned, between some of the wind shear and the dry air, models don't really seem to be overly concerned about it, at least at this time.
Yeah, I thought I had, I know it's in here somewhere, but we have millions of graphics that we look at every day, and the focus has been so much on Erin recently, but I wanted to bring up that sea surface temperature graphic. I'm trying to look in between you talking here, but this is the GFS model. So again, not really picking up on a ton. More than anything, there it is, that little polka dot that you see there, that's trying to be Invest 90. More than anything, my eye is drawn to that beautiful area, high pressure, that we love to see because it helps us out. And then we also have that trough that's diving in from the northwest. There we go. As we move it to about Tuesday, it will kind of take that recurve. But, yeah.
Yeah, the troughing is definitely helping us. I feel like it's a little bit early in the season for some of those larger long wave troughs and cold fronts that kind of dip in from our north. I feel like that typically doesn't happen until, kind of later into September and October, but we are seeing some of those. So the troughs, the upper level flow, and the wind shear that's often associated with those, right, is kind of acting as a little bit of a barrier, at least over us for the time being. Especially in more so North Florida than perhaps in Central or South Florida. Oh, what do you consider yourself in Tampa? Are you Central Florida, South Florida vibes?
Yeah, well, because I worked in Fort Myers, so I consider that Southwest Florida. But I mean, yeah, it's tricky because then we have the Panhandle, and yeah, I would consider us central, I guess. Yeah, central,
Okay.
South Central.
You're in that I-4 corridor.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think the GFS is a little bit more enthusiastic with, I mean, hey, I would love a nice, breeze of air coming through here with that front. But the GFS is always like a little bit more enthusiastic just like tropical systems, when it comes to those fronts diving down. Typically, we don't really see that big breath of fresh air, if you will. But, the GFS likes to just get excited about things. But since we're on the topic, let's talk about that front that's coming down. If I can, I have this played out. So I showed this during our evening show. A lot of moisture in our area right now. We have that weather impact alert moving into tomorrow for the morning commutes into about lunchtime. We have that west-southwest wind. Whenever we have that west-southwest wind, what typically happens is we have those storms start up along the Gulf Coast and to start the day, and then they move their way across the peninsula, which is exactly what happened today. Then Ross gets them over there in Jacksonville, and they have them for the evening hours. Now tonight in Tampa, we could have a little pop of some downpours around 10, 11 p.m. next few hours. But this is a beautiful thing. I mean, when we looked at the moisture meter, now listen, it's not going to be a blast of cooler air. What's going to happen here is we will have lower dew points, but especially for you guys up there in Jacksonville, Ross, you guys will feel pretty nice drier air on the way.
Yeah, and that's really what we're trying to emphasize, right, is, it's still going to be humid. It's August in Florida
yeah.
and Georgia for our Georgia counties. But, yeah, that dry air, it's more than likely going to drop dew points into the low 70s, perhaps the upper 60s for some of our Georgia counties here. So certainly we'll at least limit some of the rain chances and coverage through next Tuesday and Wednesday. But you mentioned, the front tomorrow and through the weekend. You guys get the west-southwest breeze in the morning. It doesn't really reach us until the afternoon. So you get all your storm chances before lunch. We're going to have them all arrive here after lunchtime and through the late afternoon and early evening hours. So similarly, we have a weather impact alert in effect for Friday as well, especially it's week one of Friday Night Football here in Jacksonville. I'm assuming it's a similar story for you guys in Tampa. But football, huge deal, up here in Jacksonville. We're going to have a lot of folks, families, players out there. So, of course, we're kind of anticipating a pretty wet and stormy, again, late afternoon, early evening hour. We're going to watch to see if there's any lightning delays, at least, during pregame warm-ups and things of that nature. So that's kind of a precursor to what we're expecting this weekend here locally. A lot more rain and thunderstorms, as you have noted right there. That cold front pretty much just stalls out right over North Florida and then just kind of withers away by the time it reaches you guys. But another front moving in behind it by the middle of next week. And really, that's going to be the big cold front that brings a lot of folks some much needed relief, not only here, but also further to the north. I'm sure your folks back up in Jersey are going to enjoy the cooler weather, some of the drier air up there as well.
Yeah, it's certainly going to feel nice and refreshing. We just need the water to recede. But yeah, and by the way, for anybody that wants to be nitpicky, the front that we drew on here, that's from this morning. It didn't really change that much, but sometimes the timing gets a little off on here as far as we don't have Barron. Where Barron, when we talk about weather systems, there's another system called Barron for anybody watching at home, and they have the luxury of their surface maps just playing out. Did you ever use Barron, Ross? It's a beautiful thing, right? You don't have to draw,
yes.
But the little things that go into it.
When I worked in Oklahoma City, we had Barron, and that was such a nice thing to be able to just kind of have the automated surface analysis maps, auto-populate. So, yeah, a little extra work to draw them yourself, but it's all good.
Yeah. All right, so, since we're on the subject, let me just quickly go into our weather impact alert. And, Ross, I'm sorry that we don't have yours brought up in here, but it will basically be the same kind of scenario, just different timing for those in Georgia and around Jacksonville, that portion of northeastern Florida. This is for Tampa. This is our weather impact alert. So a weather impact alert is something that we do within TEGNA, all the TEGNA stations. Basically, is it an inconvenience to you? Yes, because when is the timing we're looking at here in Tampa Bay? the start of the day from about 5 a.m., really 7, 8 o'clock. That's when the downpours will start to get going with that west-southwest wind. And that lasts until about lunchtime. After that, we will still have the occasional shower, moderate rain, but it won't be as frequent or widespread. We could have some times of some localized flooding, especially those poor drainage areas, low-lying areas. You get the drill. And Ross, it's the same for you guys, right? It's just different timing.
Yeah, absolutely. Our timing's 2 to 8 p.m. tomorrow afternoon and evening, but we already saw locally 2 to almost 3 inches in a few spots from storms today. We're going to have another round on the way tomorrow. So you just kind of continue to pile up the rain on top of more rain. So localized flooding going to be a concern. We already had a couple flash flood warnings in effect today. So there's going to be a chance for some strong to severe storms tomorrow afternoon and evening as well. So yeah, all the threats and impacts stay the same. Just going to be a morning event for you guys and an afternoon and evening event for us over here.
Yeah. All right, we have less than 2 minutes left. Let's wrap this up with the beautiful Climate Prediction Center outlook. This is always fun to look at because it gives us a little look into the future besides of our other models, of course. But I think this is like kind of a point-blank period what you guys can expect. So a little 20% shot of development off the coast of Africa. That's pretty typical. That's the main development region. So as Ross was saying earlier, that's usually where these seedlings come from, and then we watch them track. The important thing here for us here at home is when these systems are farther down to the south, because usually, especially if they're weaker, they tend to travel more westerly. And then this is interesting. This is moving into September 3rd to September 9th, but the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season is September 10th, September 11th. So, you know, this wouldn't be abnormal, right? This is usually when we see more activity. So, you know, is that saying that we're going to see something absolutely brew up in the Gulf? No, but, you know, the probability is a little bit better looking, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's just that time of the year, right, that you expect things to start popping up and developing. So neither of those too much of a surprise to either of us or I think to most folks out there.
Yeah. All right. That's all we have for now. Ross, always a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. And we'll see you tonight at 11.